Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
It's time for the Sports Blitz, the only live-streamed local sports show in Arkansas, with all the latest on the sports stories that matter to you. Live from the Lions Den Golf Club studio, here are your hosts, Mark Freeman and Weldon Braxton.
Welcome into the Cogswell Motors Studios on a Wednesday. It's going to be our Friday. We will not be here on Friday because of the Thanksgiving holiday, but we are going to take our shot today to knock it all out and talk about everything that there is going on in the world of sports the rest of this week and the things that we've seen since we were last on the air on Monday. Welcome in to today's show. Mark Freeman, Weldon, Braxton, Maddie Lassiter here in the studios. And Weldon, we've got an eclectic list of topics to talk about today. We've got breaking news. I don't know if you saw this out of Sao Paulo, Brazil, where the World Cup, the soccer stadium that was going to host the World Cup, crane collapsed and killed a couple people. So it was a pretty big deal there going on in Brazil. They're trying to. I got an alert on my phone. I didn't even know I got alerts on my phone from that type of stuff, but. I got an alert, and it said that it was obviously it was a big deal, but said some folks lost their lives, so need to send out condolences. And while we're doing that, we're going to talk about high school basketball and football here in just a little bit. And while I'm thinking about it, Pottsville had a basketball game that was moved from last night because a Bauxite player, girls player, parent passed away, and we send our condolences. I don't know whether or not that parent or child will be watching right now, but a parent did pass away, and that game was not able to be played as scheduled last night. They've moved the game, so we'll see how that game goes whenever it does take place. 3 dead in the World Cup stadium collapse there in Brazil, and again, we send our condolences to them. But get all the bad stuff out of the way early on because we've got a bunch of good stuff this weekend with holiday football, especially on Thanksgiving. I don't know if you're like we are. When you just sit there on Thanksgiving Day, you eat entirely too much, and the tryptophan kicks in, and then you watch the Cowboys play and lose on Thanksgiving Day. Then you watch the Razorbacks play LSU. That's going to change next year. There won't be on the Friday after Thanksgiving. It'll be switched up. We've got Arkansas Razorbacks scheduling information for you today. Plenty of stuff today on the show.
And we might get to that in today's show. I know there's a lot of talk. We've known the SEC schedule for a few months now, and we knew this move was going to happen. I've heard debate on each side of it. Do you want to play LSU, or is Missouri a better move towards the end of the year? So maybe that's something we can get into. But, Mark, there is so much going on right now. You've got the Arkansas Razorback basketball team in action. They've played 2 games since we've been on there last. Of course, they came up short against Cal, but then looked great in the second half against Minnesota. We'll get to look at that. Rivalry week in college football. We do have Arkansas and LSU, but a lot going on around the country. The SEC title game is still up for grabs. A few teams still have a chance. Texas A&M and Missouri. If Missouri can win that game, they will be in the title game. If not, South Carolina, the old ball coach, will get to go to the title game from the East. And then the Iron Bowl. Simple as that. Winner goes to the SEC title game. Obviously, Mark, and we touched on this Monday, if you're an SEC guy just cheering for the SEC to push on through, and of course you want Alabama to get it done this week, and then of course get it done in the title game. So there's so much going on right now.
Definitely. That Iron Bowl, it's as big as it was when Cam and his squad, I'll call him Cam and not what I would rather call him, old Scam. They came in there and they won the Iron Bowl to go to the national championship, eventually go to the national championship game and beat Oregon. This is a big one. A lot of folks talking about Gus Malzahn. Our boy Brad Caldwell, he's a Gus Malzahn apologist. I hope he's listening right now down in Star City and watching us bash on him.
I like Gus.
I like Gus too, but I'm also not ignorant to the facts of the matter and that he wouldn't have done any better with this year's squad. Of course, that's a different conversation. Yeah, that's a long conversation too. So we'll move on from there. The big news that came out yesterday in Arkansas Razorback sports, and we need to, I guess, just hit it for just a moment because I'm afraid, as is the case sometimes, we get going and we leave things out because we just don't have time for them. The 2014 schedule came out yesterday for the Arkansas football team, and we were made aware that the University of Arkansas and War Memorial Stadium Board have come to an agreement that Arkansas would only play one game in War Memorial Stadium beginning next year through the 2018 season. Now, this original contract was through 2016, so a lot of us thought, 2016 is it. Arkansas is going to play these games. They're going to get themselves through 2016. Now, there are a lot
That's
of
what you said.
there are a lot of Little Rock fans who would disagree, but I'm not a big proponent of playing in Little Rock. So a lot of us thought, no, okay, just make it through 2016, it'll go away. Now they're taking one game, or just leaving one game in Little Rock, but they've extended the contract a little bit to, I guess, I don't know, maybe they didn't want to rip the Band-Aid off. Maybe they did want to see, Jeff Long wanted to see the impact of having the one game in Little Rock, and as of next year, it's going to be Georgia in Little Rock. Now, obviously, every year it would be a different team. You can't play the same team at home every year. You'd have to switch off and home. But playing an SEC East team, you would have to go to their place, and then they would probably rotate out. But Arkansas is going to face Georgia next year in War Memorial Stadium. It's going to be the only game in Little Rock.
And then, you talked about the negotiations that possibly went on, and that was a big thing to see. Okay, you reduced the Little Rock games to one. I'm pretty sure the Little Rock people put their foot down and said, okay, we'll do this one, but you ain't giving us Louisiana Monroe or Louisiana Lafayette or somebody for that one game.
Do you think they had that? Do you think they had that?
I mean, if you look at it though, obviously reducing from 2 to 1. If you're still under contract, you still have some leverage anyway, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Because you're altering the deal anyway. That's through 2016. So I'm thinking part of that deal was, okay, we'll reduce down to 1, but at the same time, obviously we know Arkansas usually plays one SEC game and then one, non-conference opponent that's not very good in Little Rock. I would imagine the Little Rock people at least insisted on saying, okay, we'll take one, but let's make it the SEC game, not the Sun Belt opponent. That's what I would imagine from looking at it.
It seems like that was a compromise. Instead of, all right, we're just going to take all the games out. They're saying, well, look, we'll let you, not have to pay the consequences of breaking this contract if you'll just give us one game and you'll give us a decent game. Because I don't think Arkansas would have balked too much at, breaking that contract and having to pay whatever it is. They already, we were talking about this yesterday off the air. They already have to pay a fee to rent the stadium to play in it. It's just unbelievable. And they missed out on more than $1 million in revenue as far as at the gate from playing, in Little Rock instead of Fayetteville. So there's a lot of financial reasons to play in Fayetteville over to Little Rock, and I guess that it was sort of a meet in the middle type thing to where they played that one game and it was a good one in Little Rock.
And if you're Jeff Long too, you obviously want to operate in good faith as well.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, because Arkansas is such a unique state and a unique school, because the flagship university is located, in a corner of the state, and you still have a huge operation, huge part of the state that's uncovered. Most states have more than one, powerhouse level school, and if there's only one, it's more centrally located. So even though Jeff Long probably, he could have paid the little small buyout, or it may not be that small. He could have paid the little buyout and got out of it. I think a part of him wants to operate in good faith as well. I think that's what he was thinking about too.
We'll see how that whole deal transpires over the next few years and whether or not Arkansas will continue to play in War Memorial. If next year it goes terribly and they can't sell the stadium out for Georgia, I wouldn't be surprised if Jeff Long, the businessman, says, all right, we're cutting bait now. We're going to pay you whatever we got to pay you, but we're not going to play any more games in War Memorial after this schedule. So we'll see how that works out. I feel like they're going to eventually be out of Little Rock. I don't know that's not something that's set in stone. Obviously, I'm not in the negotiations in the room.
We know if you were how it would be. If you were,
they'd be gone. They'd be out of Little Rock yesterday. But I'm sort of. I'll be honest. We're all selfish in this. Everybody who has a say in this. There are some people who's like, I don't care, but everybody who's either I want games in Little Rock or I don't want games in Little Rock. It's selfish because the people in Northwest Arkansas, it's closer to them. The people in Southwest, Southeast, and a lot of Arkansas, probably more people can get to Little Rock easier than can get to Fayetteville. So everybody who is pro Little Rock is selfish in that aspect. And I'm not saying you're wrong for being that way. Some of them are historically selfish. I've got these memories with my granddad and my dad. So that's okay. That's fine. I'm sort of in the middle, and it's about equal distance either direction, so it doesn't matter to me. So I'm sort of one of those, let's make the more money, So I don't know.
Yeah, I get you. I got you.
Anyway, let's hit our Peters Family Living local sports look. We appreciate Peters Family Living for all they've done. If you haven't seen the commercials that Minnie Bill's got going on, Maddie made those commercials. And if you hate them, his email is maddie@rivervalleyleader.com. No, he does a good job for Bill Peters and Peters Family Living, and we appreciate them taking an interest in local sports. This weekend, we've got one high school football team remaining. They've won through 2 rounds of the playoffs, and show them what they've won. They win a trip to Junction City to take on a perennial powerhouse in 2A football. Weldon, I heard Coach Mark Taylor last night on Grant Merrill's show, Arkansas Sports Night, which we've hosted before, and he was talking about how, it's one of those things where you're playing Junction City and everybody expects you to lose. I feel like this Hector team, they can't be overlooked. If Junction City comes out and overlooks Hector, they're going to get beat. It's not a question of whether or not Hector can stay on the same field with Junction City, but I feel like they can use that sort of, we're the underdog as a motivational tool in this game. They've only lost 1 game in the entire season. It was their 2nd game of the year, and it was after they played on a Tuesday and they played on a Friday also. So Hector, for all intents and purposes, could have been undefeated on the season. They're not a slouch. They're a very, very good team out of the 2A. I feel like they're going to have a chance to go down to Junction City and get a win.
Yeah, I mean, if Junction City does overlook them, certainly you're absolutely right. Junction City, they're on everybody's radar. Obviously, they're favored, and they've been favored in many games over the years. They're a powerhouse. But Hector, there's no reason why they shouldn't have confidence. Anytime you're a number 1 seed from your league, you've had the success they've had, you look at it as you don't have to take a back seat to anybody. And I think they're going to go to Junction City with that attitude. And as you touched on, Mark, if Junction City is sleeping on Hector, it will be a game, and Hector will have a chance to win. Football is a crazy game, as in you look at 2 teams matching up against one another, and you always assume, well, this team at their best will match up with this team at their best in this kind of way. But the way the game usually works is somebody doesn't bring their best. Somebody turns it over a lot. Somebody messes up a lot. If that team is Junction City, then Hector will be in good shape.
It always happens this way when you talk about a game and you talk about, like you said, this team at their best, this team at their best. You never are going to see 2 teams at their absolute best, because every team's absolute best includes taking away from their best. So if a team is actually at their best, the other team can't possibly be at their best. I mean, it may happen in basketball offensively where both teams are at their best,
right,
but you're never going to see an A-plus game from, we'll talk about Clarksville here in a minute, you're never going to see an A-plus game from Clarksville where the other team is just scoring in bunches, because their philosophy is to stop them and get stops and run. It's just like the Arkansas basketball team. We were talking about this the other day. Now, in Nolan's heyday, they'd give up 80, 90 points a game sometimes, but they'd score 130.
Right.
That was not their MO necessarily to worry about how many points the other team scored, but they did want to get stops. In football, it's sort of, if Hector plays to their capability, Junction City is going to be ground to a halt. It's not going to be a high-scoring game if they have their way. So we'll see how Hector plays on the road tonight. It doesn't seem like, man, getting choked up here just talking about Hector. I love him so much.
Look at you. Hector Wildcat fan Mark Freeman. Every time he talks about you, he can't. He's choking
Goodness.
up over here.
Yeah, I got something down in my throat. It was the love for Hector that just boiled over on me. Let's look real quickly as we're about to hit a break at basketball. We mentioned a couple of Monday night was a crazy night. It was supposed to snow, it's supposed to sleet and freezing rain. A lot of people canceled their games and things like that. So we don't have a whole lot of high school basketball to report, but we do we do want to make you aware that Russellville fell 50-47 to Rogers Heritage. Then they fell again last night to Springdale. It's I think it was about a 13-point game. Let me find out exactly what the score was. They played Springdale on the road last night. They fell 78-64. So they're going to try to get themselves back on the right track heading into the Cyclone Classic that's coming up here in a couple weeks. I guess it's over the Christmas holiday, if I'm not mistaken, or at least in that area. I know Clarksville's playing in that, so that's going to be good. The Clarksville Panthers traveled to Bentonville last night, and they got to take on the Fighting Malik Monks. I got to watch after about 7 minutes into the game. There was just a minute or so left in the first quarter, and watch the rest of the game. So I don't think I saw any. There were no Malik Monk dunks that I saw. So Clarksville did a pretty good job on him, but he did have like 15 in the first quarter, something like that. Mm-hmm. He was hitting step back threes in the first quarter. Clarksville got it together, trailed by, I think it was 2 at the half, came out and took a lead of 7 points going into the fourth quarter, and then situations dictated that Clarksville was not able to win the game. Bentonville came back to win. 88 free throw shot. You want to talk about an emphasis in high school sports going all the way up to the NBA, really more in college basketball and high school basketball. The emphasis on hand check rule and the fouls that are just called immediately caused 88 free throws in a game between two teams who probably could have scored in the 80s if they had just been running up and down. The game's ground to a halt, and I'll just be honest with you, there were a lot of calls that just left me scratching my head on both sides. There was a couple calls where just one series where Malik Monk runs smooth over Kendrick Lee, and it should have been a charge. He was there for 3 seconds. Should have been a charge. It's a block. Go down on the other end. Kendrick Lee runs smooth over Malik Monk, and they call a block. So it's just like makeup call after makeup call, which led to it's one of those things where they started out the game calling it really tight, and they felt like they had to be consistent the rest of the game. 88 free throws in one game.
I mean, that's quite a bit, too. And as far as the hand check rules, this is something that you could see coming in college basketball for the last few years because there were so many complaints about the game being too rough, especially, you think about running cutters through the lane and just getting assaulted, trying to NBAify the game, as I call it, trying to make it a little bit smoother. But as far as Clarksville, really didn't surprise me at all. I know they were underdogs going up to Bentonville, but you know how Coach Davis is. You know how it is when another team has a hyped-up player, somebody's getting a lot of talk, and his team's getting counted out. You know how they usually respond. That's what I expected, and that's what happened. And unfortunately for the Panthers, being the Valley team, they didn't get it done. But they're showing you that even without Dedrick, even without Devin Sims, they still have some guys, they still have some players that they will be a team to be reckoned with, not just in the 5A West, but in Class 5A overall.
There are only 2 teams, in my opinion, right now that I've seen growing the last couple years that will put up. Basically, the thing that is going to help Clarksville is that they've got a lot of athletes at guard, and they've got enough inside. Forest City with Trey Thompson, who's 7'12". He's going to be tough to stop. Last year, they had to front and back, guard him in front and back, and just pray that they didn't throw it over the top anyway. It helped that Clarksville got out to a 15-0 lead on them. He's going to be tough to handle. And then Jacksonville, with all the athletes and the size that they can put on the court, it's going to be trouble for Clarksville. But everybody else, I feel like Clarksville's going to match up pretty well with. Like you said, they're going to be right there in the 5A basketball story. They're taking on Pottsville on the 3rd next Tuesday. It's going to be a fun game for the 4A defending state champs and a 5A perennial power, renewing that rivalry as they were 4A 4 conference mates just 2 years ago. So that was a fun one always to watch those two teams play. Watch Michael Perry play against the Lees. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hey, I wouldn't be surprised if in a couple months you're hearing about Michael Perry committing to play basketball. I won't tell you where, but I have heard some rumblings. And I think he's going to go play basketball. I don't know for sure, and I have talked to him about it, but I don't want to ever make him just say, okay, well, this is what I'm going to do, because he's got a decision to make. He's got to let all the chips fall where they may as far as who's recruiting him. And if he went to Missouri a couple weeks ago, if they offered him a scholarship, he'd be hard for him to, and that's for football. It'd be hard for him to turn it down. But then he's got basketball offers and options.
Chaminade basketball in the mix.
Well, if they can put a guy up there and put 43 up in a Maui Invitational game, it wouldn't be a bad deal for old Michael to
Florida
play.
Gulf Coast transfer.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, he was on that team that went to
Dunk City.
Yeah, Dunk City and the infield.
Nice. He's your boy.
Yeah, that's my boy.
He's your boy. Oh, man. Well, we're looking forward to where Michael Perry goes, and that game Tuesday is going to be a fun matchup. Hey, send us your basketball information, mark@rivervalleyleader.com. We'd love to have your team's scores, stats, and information. We've got several schools who do a really good job of it. If you see a lot of Pottsville, Russellville, Clarksville, that's because they send me the information. I don't get to go to all the games, but I'd love to have your story stuff, your write-ups. You can have a coach send me after the game a little form with stats, the score, and a quote. And then I can make a little news brief out of it, or sports brief out of it. And then if you want to send me photos, feel free. Robert Prohaska does a good job of sending them from Russellville, in the junior high especially, where his daughter goes to school. But mark@rivervalleyleader is the email. We have been long-winded with the first segment. When we come back, we've got NFL Power Rankings and The Wire.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. You know, we've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
here's what you missed.
Updated news.
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
Developing stories.
It's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
And weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance of rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on. KARK4 today.
Over 69 years of treating you like family, Peters Family Living's main goal is customer service. That is their promise to their customers. They offer in-house financing on furniture and appliances and a 30-day money-back guarantee. For a friendly, no-pressure atmosphere, visit Peters Family Living today at 201 North Arkansas Avenue, Russellville. Online at petersfamilyliving.com or call 479-968-2929.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
Welcome back into the Sports Blitz on a holiday Wednesday. I say holiday Wednesday because we're not going to be here on Friday, so adjust your internet usage accordingly. Almost said listening habits, viewing habits, but we are here live at RiverValleyLeader.com in the Cogswell Motors studios. We appreciate you taking time to join us today. Mark Freeman, Maddie Lassiter over there, and Weldon Braxton over here. I almost pointed the wrong direction.
Well, there you go. Good
but
thing you did.
I know this guy. We appreciate you, again, taking time to be with us today. We've got a lot to talk about left on the show. Got to give you our NFL power rankings, and what have you done for me lately, League? My power rankings have changed dramatically from last week.
So have mine.
I feel like we're going to have pretty much the same 5 teams, but I don't know that we're going to have the same order of these teams. I always go first, so you go ahead.
Oh, I'm honored that you let me go first. You must have a doozy of a list. You must have the Jaguars.
I told you, I got a list.
And on your power rankings.
Yeah,
winners of 2 straight.
Lately? Yeah,
winners of 2 straight. You know how I like to do my power rankings. I always mention 2 or 3 honorable mention teams at the start, and I'm gonna mention the Arizona Cardinals, because I believe their defense is solid. Their defense has been good the last couple of years. It's just been they were abysmal on offense. You've got Bruce Arians. Carson Palmer can throw the deep ball like Arians likes. You've got Floyd and Fitzgerald, huge receivers. Arizona's playing good football right now. I want to keep them in mind. My next honorable mention team is the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs, losers of 2 straight, and they have significant injuries defensively. They have not been able to get a pass rush. Peyton Manning did a number on them, and then Phillip Rivers and company did a number on them in Arrowhead. Kansas City has dropped out of my power rankings, but they're still a legitimate team. Got them honorable mention. And then the Carolina Panthers, my final honorable mention team, went down to Miami. Miami is a solid team with talent, but they didn't look that great offensively. Couldn't put them in my power rankings. So Mark Freeman, here we go. Number 5, I got a team that's coming. You may not say they're one of the hottest 5 teams right now or one of the best, but I know they're good and they're coming, and that is the San Francisco 49ers. Because you look at how they played at New Orleans, better than what anybody thought, and then they took apart. I know RG3 and company are terrible this year, but they did go to the nation's capital, take them apart. I'm investing in them over the next few weeks. The 49ers, ladies and gentlemen, they are coming. Number 4, I got to give it up to the New England Patriots. You know, what they were able to do coming back against the Denver Broncos. Obviously, with Shane Vereen back in the lineup, that's just another huge weapon. They're starting to get healthy, looking like the Patriots. Number 3, I'm going to go with New Orleans. New Orleans is 9-2. They're going up to Seattle for a huge NFC battle. I didn't like how they played at Atlanta, but Atlanta's a prideful team. It was a Thursday night. They got the win. I give them that. Number 2, I got to go with the Denver Broncos. Obviously, with Peyton Manning, they always have a chance to win. Unfortunate, heartbreaking comeback loss against the Patriots, and then in their struggles. But I still believe in them. And then number 1 is Seattle. Seattle didn't play last week, but you know how much I marveled over Percy Harvin and what he's done for that offense. We both agreed how much more athletic and how much faster he was. They do have some problems. Brandon Browner is out for the year, one of their huge corners, but I still like what they can do offensively now. I still think that defense is solid. Got Seattle number 1. Floor is yours.
I've got Seattle number 1 as well. Like I said, what have you done for me lately? They're 10-1. I want to do it. Well, I've never done the honorable mention thing because I like it because it means that I can talk about teams for just a second that aren't in my power rankings that probably could be. There are several teams who I want to mention. Kansas City's 1. We all kind of thought it was coming. That they were going to fall off a little bit. Now they've lost 2 in a row. You've talked about the injury woes. I talked about the other day how Alex Smith, he just will not make a mistake, and I don't mean that in a good way. I mean that in the fact that he won't try to make a play for fear he'll make a mistake, so he'll just check it down all day long. I saw a play where at the end of the game, I guess they won, and no, they lost to San Diego, but they're down, and he's running a screen pass on like 3rd and 8, and I'm thinking, dude, this is not a play. I know that's the play call, but it's just playing into his style that they run a screen pass on 3rd and 8 down in the game. It worked. But he's not my favorite quarterback. So Kansas City right there on the list. Cincinnati and Arizona both playing pretty well, 7-4 each. Carson Palmer's kind of come around, found out that if you just throw it really deep to Larry Fitzgerald, good things happen. Or if you just throw it to Larry Fitzgerald, good things happen. Got some receivers there in Arizona. San Francisco's another one. We talked about it early in the year. How in the world a team like San Francisco with all the talent that they've got couldn't compete was kind of blowing our minds. We thought before the season started that they were going to be the most talented team in all of football, and it's come back around to where they're starting to play a little better. So I figure one of those teams will be in the power rankings in the near future. At number 5, got the Carolina Panthers, 8-3, won 7 games in a row. That's right, they were 1-3 about 2 months ago. Here they are now at 8-3, second behind the New Orleans Saints in the NFC South, and they are playing very, very well. That defense is incredible. Cam Newton has played well enough with the running game and the veteran receivers to put them at number 5 in my rankings. Number 4 is the New England Patriots. Yes, they did beat the Denver Broncos, and yes, I do have the Denver Broncos number 3 in my power rankings. New England overcame a 24-0 deficit. They were able to get the victory over Denver, but at the end of the day, really right now, 9-2 Denver, 8-3 New England. It's the I know the head-to-head, I just can't move Denver all the way down to number 4 on my list after a loss like that. Peyton Manning, in those elements, it's always going to be a question to me. I hope he's able to make the Super Bowl. Their Farmer's Almanac's calling for a huge winter storm, and then he would be able to possibly prove the doubters and all those who think he can't perform under those circumstances wrong and win another Super Bowl, and things would just be completely different for his legacy's sake, LeBron-esque. I just said that. We called him the best ever, and I just said LeBron-esque.
My mind is still blown about you. You whooped out the Farmer's Almanac, something we hadn't heard anything since the 90s.
That just happened, Farmer's Almanac. Oh. Well, I saw that on the game the other night. They were talking about the Super Bowl and Peyton Manning playing in adverse conditions. And, they said that the Farmer's Almanac was calling for a big bad storm in around Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah.
So, yeah, in outdoor Super Bowl in New York in February. Great idea, NFL. But I've got Denver at number 3. I've got New Orleans at number 2, Seattle at number 1. The New Orleans Saints, 9-2, won 3 in a row, playing very good football atop the NFC South, as I mentioned. There's going to be a head-to-head matchup between the New Orleans Saints and the Carolina Panthers that'll take care of that talk about who's the best in that division. Tampa Bay and Atlanta have just been abysmal in that division. So, been impressed with what I've seen from Drew Brees, especially when he gets some of his weapons back. He gets Jimmy Graham back. Who is Joey Graham? A former Oklahoma State basketball player.
That's right, yeah.
Jimmy Graham back.
Stephen Graham, his brother.
Yeah, exactly. They look like friggin' Adonis out there. Just Jimmy Graham breaking goalposts and things like that, or let's see, at least knocking it off balance. Playing very well out there for the New Orleans Saints. And then number 1, like you said, Seattle, 10-1. If they get home games, it's going to be tough to beat them in the NFC playoffs. So we'll see how it comes down the stretch. But Seattle right now, number 1 on my power rankings and yours as well. We've got plenty left on the Sports Blitzes. We're going to turn our attention shortly to Arkansas Razorback sports, taking on LSU on Friday, and then Maui Invitational basketball action as Arkansas takes on Gonzaga.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. You know, we've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
Here's what you missed.
updated news,
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
developing stories,
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
and weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on KRK4 today.
Over 69 years of treating you like family, Peters Family Living's main goal is customer service. That is their promise to their customers. They offer in-house financing on furniture and appliances and a 30-day money-back guarantee. For a friendly, no-pressure atmosphere, visit Peters Family Living today at 201 North Arkansas Avenue, Russellville. Online at petersfamilyliving.com or call 479-968-2929.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
We're talking in the break about ugly uniforms. Apparently Texas A&M is about to try to break the ugly record. Maddie, do you have a picture of that? If you could, put that up, because Texas A&M, I don't know what they're trying to do. If they're trying to put a little hypnotic spell on, who is it, Missouri?
Missouri, yeah.
Missouri's got some pretty, I don't hate their uniforms.
I like
sometimes.
what they do.
I like
Yeah, I like
what they do.
Missouri.
Maybe they're just trying to, whoa, what are we doing? Maybe they're trying to put them on a little hypnosis. Johnny Football are going to run circles around them, and maybe it'll help.
This looked like somebody went down to the fabric store right before it closed. And you know, at the fabric store, they cut stuff up and then they have the scraps. Well, like somebody went to the fabric store when it was about to close, got all the scraps from the daily cut, and then they just smashed it together and made this. I mean, Maddie, do you have it up? 'Cause this is the ugliest thing I've ever seen in my life. How do you even call this a uniform? I mean, this looks like some dress that somebody would wear in a faraway land somewhere. I hope Texas A&M doesn't
Faraway
wear.
land.
Yeah, I hope they don't wear this uniform. And the thing is, I kind of like that little gray maroon action they had against LSU. It kind of graduated some parts. That look kind of sharp look to it. If they come out in this, I'm gonna be cheering for Missouri for no other reason besides these ugly uniforms.
It looks like Maryland's crappy flag uniform
Oh, they got
threw
Maryland
up
beat,
all
yeah.
over this shirt, and that's what Texas A&M is trying to wear. It honestly looks like some fabulous New York designer went crazy on.
Maryland's uniform would win out for me as far as ugliest, even if A&M ends up
not
wearing
over that.
this. I think just because
No
of the
way.
helmet.
But it doesn't matter. At least
listen,
it's like their flag. It's inspired by their
I know,
flag.
but
That's
it is
just poop.
unbelievably ugly. Now this jersey, I mean this uniform, if they wear that, then that's pretty high up there on the
Takes the
worst.
cake, man.
But the helmet, now we don't know if they're going to wear that just plain white helmet. If they wear a plain white helmet, it kind of knocks down the ugly factor a little bit. But if they wear some crazy looking helmet, then they need to go away. Just go away.
Just go away forever.
And on the flip side, Navy came out with some sharp photos of what I think they're going to be wearing for the game against Army. Really sharp. Looked like a uniform, an actual uniform, head to toe. Had the badges and everything embroidered, the helmet. That looked sharp. Now Navy comes out.
They don't play around.
They don't play around. Really, for military schools, armed services, they come out with some sharp uniforms. Army, Navy, Air Force, but A&M.
When they do the camo, they do it right. When the Army does the camo,
not like
look
South
sweet.
Carolina camo.
Yeah, no, they look sweet when they do it. Of course, it's sort of an homage to the service people, these guys who are actually service people who are playing football. So it's pretty cool that they're able to wear those. But yeah, speaking of ugly uniforms, we'll see what Texas. We were talking about Arkansas, and we'll get to Hog Talk after the break, but. The uniforms that they wore, the anthracite ones that they wore in Little Rock, these two guys didn't like them. I like the uniforms themselves. The only gripe that I had, and I know that they said the same sort of thing, the helmet, I don't care that they even wore the anthracite helmet. But when I saw one of the helmets close up, like there was a close-up shot on one of the helmets, and like the sticker was bent up, and it was just like, really? Like it looked so stupid. Like it looked like a toy that somebody, like one of those that you would buy and you would put on your mantle. I don't know. They could do something different to help spice up the helmet a little bit. I like the anthracite, and and I've heard that they're going back to some more traditional uniforms. That's a Brett Bielema thing. He likes the traditional uniform, maybe like the Darren McFadden, Felix Jones era with the Arkansas across the front. I think that makes you look like Oklahoma, but regardless, he said he understands the importance of the uniforms to recruits. And that's the point that I would want to make. You can't go away and just go back to some crappy old uniform because people do not go. I mean, there's people going to Oregon. It's for a reason. It's the facilities. It's the uniform combinations. It's there's a lot of stuff that factors into it, but uniforms cannot be undersold.
Yeah, and then the only argument I would listen to would be if you were an Auburn or an Alabama or a Penn State who you've had a consistent uniform for several years. Arkansas hadn't been that way. They haven't had a steady uniform over time. time, and it's not like you're bucking a whole bunch of tradition if you switch up Arkansas's uniforms. The big Arkansas McFadden era jerseys, those were bad. But hands down, the worst ones were the year after Darren McFadden left. Bobby Petrino's first year. Those
with the
old
red shoulder pads, white jersey type thing.
Those old Adidas uniforms are they fit weird. They look like something from the 1980s. I mean, we've already a bad team anyway. We just look like a horrible team with those old. I think we wore them 2 years too. Yeah, because I think they wore them in 2009 too, and then 2010. That's when they got the ones I told you I liked.
Those are cool.
Those 2010, 2011 ones. But I wouldn't mind something that gave a little bit more of a traditional look, but still clean. I think it's more of a clean look is what I would say, more than a traditional look is what I want. Something where you may have some big, bold, clean numbers. Just something that's get a more clean look. That's kind of what's in style now. And all these weird designs and shapes and transitions from dark to light, that's kind of going out of style. You're seeing teams kind of go into a clean color with a clean white, but still design it to look modern.
That's College Football Uni Watch 2013
That's
for
right.
you. We'll talk more about it later on as the decisions are made by Brett Bielema and Jeff Long and Nike. Adidas, we had some kind words for you just now, so you should come on and be our show sponsor.
Nobody wants Adidas.
Oh, Lord.
They don't.
Let's turn our attention to some college football for a moment because there are some big games this weekend. 1:30 on Friday, Arkansas LSU in it's not perhaps, for this little rotation, the last time Arkansas is going to take on LSU at this point of the season. But my question today, just real quickly, is who is going to be in the Heisman Trophy room? Who is going to be invited to New York? I think Jordan Lynch made a big statement for himself last night in a win for Northern Illinois. They won 33-14 over Western Michigan. Jordan Lynch rushed for 321 yards and 3 touchdowns. Jordan Lynch is a quarterback. He rushed for 321 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Is Jordan Lynch a senior?
You know what? I think he is, but I'm not
because
positive.
we play them next year.
Northern Illinois. Well,
That's
let's
right.
hope. Let's hope. Yes, he's a senior. He's a 6-foot senior from Chicago, and he did rush for 321 yards. He threw for 39 yards and another touchdown, so he accounted for 4 touchdowns and 350-some yards, 360 yards, I guess, to be exact, on the game. He put himself in the discussion, I feel like on purpose. They ran him 20-some-odd times, 27 carries, to get him in the conversation because it seems like nobody wants to take the Heisman Trophy this year.
They don't. As much as I admire Jordan Lynch, he ain't winning the Heisman.
Do you think he'll get the invite?
He may get an invite just because some people have kind of fallen like flies, the bigger names, but he ain't winning it. And then so when you look around this race, we know what Jameis Winston, we know his deal. We know Johnny Manziel, even though LSU's a tough defense, you can't perform like that and still be the leading guy. Right now, A.J. McCarron is the favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. Right now, I don't know if a case can be made for anybody else right now being in position. Now, he still has to close it. He still has to close it out. But right now, when you look around, I can't see how because people have too many issues. Manziel's performance, plus they don't want to give it to him anyway. Like I said, Jameis Winston. Who else? Bryce Petty fell out of the race. People didn't want Bryce Petty in the race anyway, and now he's fallen out of it. So when you look around, these candidates that we talked about, Mariota, they've lost a couple straight. He's way out of it. These candidates have dropped like flies. Yes, there'll be some other names, but right now, A.J. McCarron, because he's safe, he's got a winning pedigree. Right now, he's the Heisman favorite.
I think A.J. McCarron is a guy who I've sort of campaigned for the last month or so to at least be in the conversation because he's a 2-time national champion going for number 1 in the country. He is, like you said, a safe pick, but I think it's Jameis Winston's to lose because honestly, he's been the best player in college football this year. He and Johnny Manziel have been the best 2 college football players in the country this year. Jameis Winston, number 2 in the country for Florida State. He'd win the Heisman if it weren't for this rape allegation. And if I'm reading here on ESPN, this decision against whether or not to charge him or not is coming in 2+ weeks. It's going to put it in a tough time because the Heisman Trophy is going to be voted on within
Monday after the conference championship.
Very close proximity to the time they make that decision. If he's cleared of all charges and all this goes away, he wins the Heisman Trophy,
I
in my
agree.
opinion.
I agree.
Now, there will still be it'll be a close vote because there will be people who will leave him off the ballot entirely for his indiscretions and people who will try to be the moral judge. But as far as a player goes this year, Jameis Winston brings Florida State into the national championship conversation. Johnny Manziel, as good as he's been, they've lost several games, so he's got some work cut out for him. But the question of who's going to be there, if Jameis Winston is not charged, he wins, he's going to be there. I think that Jordan Lynch and McCarron will be there.
I agree.
I don't know that they'll take more than 3. If they do, they may take Johnny Manziel as a number 4 because he's won it last year and he's put up incredible numbers, and maybe a Marcus Mariota as a number 5. They don't like to take 5, but they sometimes will. In a year like this, they might. But if Jameis Winston is not available because of the charge levied against him, it's going to be close.
That's where it's
A.J.
at.
McCarron, or I don't think they're going to give it to Johnny Manziel again. I've said that and been outspoken about that from the beginning of the year. Then it's going to get funny, as far as who's going to win the Heisman Trophy if Jameis Winston's not there.
Because that's what it comes down to. Johnny Manziel would have had to have been perfect this year. He has 3 losses. I think he's out of it. Yeah, I'm with you. If Winston is cleared by then, he's the winner. But if not, it's going to get dicey. What I've heard some Heisman voters are going to do is they're going to hedge their bets. They're going to put Winston on their ballot but not vote him first place. So if he's on enough people's ballot and the other votes are split, then he could still win. But I've heard a lot of voters may hedge their bets.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't do that until I found out whether or not he was charged.
Yeah.
Now, if he's charged with a felony, he can't even play anymore, so he's really ineligible for action and might as well be counted ineligible for the Heisman Trophy. But if he's on the ballot at all, to me, he's number 1.
I agree.
Just because of what he's done. So it's either you take him off the ballot altogether or you leave him in because he is able to win it, and then he should. So we'll talk Hogs as Arkansas is taking on Little Rock on Friday, and we'll look at the Maui Invitational. Hogs 1-1, taking on Gonzaga today.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. We've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
Here's what you missed.
updated news,
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
developing stories,
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
and weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on KRK4 today.
Over 69 years of treating you like family, Peters Family Living's main goal is customer service. That is their promise to their customers. They offer in-house financing on furniture and appliances and a 30-day money-back guarantee. For a friendly, no-pressure atmosphere, visit Peters Family Living today at 201 North Arkansas Avenue, Russellville. Online at petersfamilyliving.com or call 479-968-2929.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
We're going to talk Arkansas, LSU, the battle for the Golden Boot here in just a moment. But we're going to start this Hog Talk segment with the Maui Invitational. Arkansas basketball team, Weldon alluded to it earlier, fell in close fashion. It was 88-77 to Cal on the opening day. I say opening day. It was the quarterfinals. They do the weird setup where they play the opening game on the mainland, and then they go out to Maui to start with the quarterfinals. Arkansas beat ULL, I guess, was the first team in the Maui Invitational, and then they come out and they take on Cal, fall 85-77, and they beat Minnesota yesterday, 87-73. It was a fun second half for the Hogs because Arkansas was down at the half. Were able to come back and get a win there against Minnesota, suffocating pressure in the second half. Some highlight plays from guys like Michael Qualls and who was the other one? Cody Clark, who had a couple good plays. I was encouraged by what I saw from Moses Kingsley, 7 points all in the second half. The defensive performance was pretty good. The offense is what got me a little bit more excited, although I do have to say I have to take that with a grain of salt because when I watched the first half, I was so frustrated with the way Arkansas ran a zone offense. It was not even funny. They'd pass around out front for 25 seconds like I have no idea what's going to happen, and then they would set a high pick and roll off that. Then they would go into an offense that looked a little bit more similar to actual basketball. But in the second half, I have to give credit where it's due. They played very, very well and were able to come out with a win.
Yeah, well, if you're Arkansas this year, you're going to have to get used to seeing a lot of zone because that's what people are going to play against. Yep. And I know I heard Jimmy Dykes on the broadcast talk about how Arkansas's man offense was much improved. It's really good. Well, that's all well and good, but they're going to see a lot of zone. Because right now Arkansas still doesn't have a guy who can consistently penetrate, which means you have to now break the zone with your movement and finding guys in spots. And as you touched on, Mark, in the first half, they weren't able to do that. In the second half, they ran much better zone offense. The defense was a lot better. The rebounding against California, they got absolutely destroyed on the glass. That effort was much improved throughout the whole Minnesota game. And then Arkansas's depth, I think, ended up being the difference against the Golden Gophers. Obviously, Little Richard Pitino wants to press for a full 40 minutes. They want to press more than Arkansas. They are just married to all out, getting out after you in the full court. But they only have 8 guys right now they can really rely on, so I think that wore down on the Golden Gophers. Arkansas is in a pretty good position. I still worry about their guard play and being able to get good shots in the half court. And as we move ahead, Mark, to this matchup at 4 o'clock against the Gonzaga Bulldogs, I think Arkansas is going to have to ramp it up a little bit defensively. I don't think they can just say, well, we're going to try to play good offense and good tough pressure defense at in the half court and just wear you down. I think Arkansas is going to have to be aggressive, pick Gonzaga up in the full court. I know they're going to beat the press sometimes and score, but I think they're going to have to be more of a bulldog pressing team rather than a sophisticated choose-your-spot type pressing team because that's all they have on the Bulldogs who can really score.
Boy, they're good, man. I liked watching Gonzaga yesterday. Put up 113 points. They got beat in the first game by Dayton, which I feel like Dayton kind of caught them on a good night for Dayton and a bad night for Gonzaga. But Gonzaga is, like you said, a top 15 team in the country. You're able to really score. You're in for a very good treat on the offensive side of the floor from Gonzaga. They've got a couple guys that can just go. Pangos, man, he can shoot. He's one of those guys, and Jimmy Dykes said he's just basically an in-the-gym range guy. If he's in the gym, he's in range. You better find out where he is. I like what you said about putting some pressure on him in the full court and really just using your depth. Arkansas played, I guess it's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 guys for more than 5 minutes yesterday. And they had 5 guys in double figures. There were a couple things that I wanted to address, and basketball minds understand, and they know this. Arkansas, when teams zone you, there's two things that'll bust that. One, penetration, like you said, and hitting shooters outside for open shots or for breaking down the zone off the dribble. And two is a high-low. I've always been a big proponent of, especially when you've got guys like Bobby Portis and Cody Clark. If they can have a high-low action between those guys, you can basically turn around with the ball in the high post and have an advantage on the zone if you do it right. You go into basically if you have guys in the short corners, a 3-on-1-2, sort of break, I say, from the high post, and you can get easy baskets that way if you're able to get it into the high post.
That's what
so I like Bobby Portis and I like Cody Clark in that position because Bobby Portis is a guy who can hit that shot, and Cody Clark played very well yesterday in the second half. So I was impressed with what I saw from them. Kai Madden, 11 points for Arkansas. Let's see, leading rebounder was Michael Qualls, who had some nice dunks too. 10 points and 8 rebounds for him. Leading assister for Arkansas, Fred Gully with 4. You had balanced scoring, like I said, 15 from Melandis Harris, who has just been very, very, very good so far. He's been a steadying force. Bobby Portis had 12, 11 from Kai Madden, 10 apiece from Fred Gully and Michael Qualls, and 7, like I said, from Moses Kingsley. I was happy with what I saw when Arkansas was able to get out and run. Michael Qualls put a couple highlights up there, so I'm hoping that they're able to at least, I'm not saying that they're going to beat Gonzaga, but hang in there with them and gain a little confidence. Winning away from Bud Walton Arena. Maddie made the joke yesterday that if you pick Bud Walton Arena up and moved it 3 feet, I'm not sure Arkansas can win because it's been so tough outside of Bud Walton Arena, even playing in Little Rock. They've struggled over the years. But to get a win in Maui was a big deal. If they're able to compete with a top 15 team in the country and give themselves some confidence, it'll be something they can recall come SEC time.
Yeah, it's funny what a win can do for you. Arkansas went into yesterday's Minnesota game as 4.5-point underdogs. Now against Gonzaga, a top 15 team, they're only a 5-point underdog. So even Vegas looking at Arkansas a little bit differently. And this Arkansas team, they showed you what they could do at their best. If you watch the Cal game, they had the little point guard Cobbs. I think if Arkansas had a Cobbs, they would be a lock to be an NCAA tournament team because he's nothing special athletically, size-wise, but he is just a floor general that flat out knows how to run a team. If Arkansas could have that, I would lock them in right now as a tournament team because, you made a great point about attacking the zone in the high-low. We got guys that can't even figure out how to pass it to that point. That's the only thing that scares me long-term. But if somebody can figure it out, and I don't know where that guy is right now, Arkansas would be a tournament team. But since they don't have that, I'm still a little bit reluctant, but I do want to see him play against the Zags today. Looking forward to it.
I do think in that game, what time's that game going to tip
4
off?
o'clock.
4 o'clock today. Okay. I was going to say I just closed that tab looking here at football, but I do look forward, like I said, to Arkansas playing Gonzaga today. The SEC is just not that great in basketball this year. You've got some top-tier teams that are just better than everybody else, but Arkansas can get some wins. Really, I feel like, especially against the lower-tier teams, you can go on the road and get some wins. I hope that they're able to go on the road and get some wins this year. It's been a tough thing the last several years where it's been Auburn or bust as far as on the road. They don't get to play at Auburn this year, so they're going to have to try to win some games on the road against some of the not-so-great teams in the SEC, and I think that they can rack up some wins and get themselves in the tournament conversation. A big win over Gonzaga would go a long way with the RPI later on come Selection Sunday, and that's saying Arkansas is even in the conversation. We feel like they will be. Let's turn our attention real quickly to football. 1:30 on Friday, you'll see Arkansas, LSU for the Golden Boot, the last time that they play in the day after Thanksgiving game, and a big slot there on CBS with the nation's attention. It's always been a close game. I'm saying this year it's going to be a 2-touchdown game for LSU in their favor. Number 17, LSU Tigers, I'm going 31-17 over Arkansas. Arkansas season mercifully comes to an end.
Yeah, and that's about where I'm at, too. I'll go ahead and say I'll go 35-17. That's kind of a number I had in mind. And I think at LSU call, they were like, hey, Arkansas, do we even need to get the trophy out of the case this year? Because it's really heavy, and we got to lug it out and then set it by the field. Can we just leave it there this year? I mean, that's where it's going to be anyway.
I think Arkansas said, go ahead.
Yeah, Arkansas said, go. Don't even waste y'all's time and string. Go ahead and leave it there. But no, this is the last time Arkansas is going to be on the field this year. If you coach Bielema, you want to go into the offseason with something to feel good about. That doesn't necessarily have to be a win on the road in Baton Rouge, but kind of turn the tide a little bit. Go in there with something to feel good about, some upward optimism as you look ahead to the 2014 year. You don't want to just roll down there, get blown out, losers of, 9 straight, however many straight it would be. You don't want to do that. I think Arkansas will show up, play, maybe give them a little bit early, but in the end, the floodgates will open and LSU will win.
Arkansas is going to try to control the game with the running game, control the clock with the running game, and keep this beat down to a minimum. We'll talk a little bit more about it on Monday as we say goodbye to the seniors. Some of them we'll be saying goodbye to, and some of them will be saying good riddance.
Oh!
But, I don't even want to waste any more time on it. We got no time left in the show, so I can't talk about the scumbags who egged Brandon Allen's car. But yeah, you people, my gosh. If it's bad, turn the TV off. Don't go egg somebody's freaking car. Morons. All right.
That's low.
Have a happy Thanksgiving with all that said. We'll be back on Monday. We are going to omit Friday's show because of Thanksgiving holiday travels, and we hope you will enjoy your time with family as well. That's all the time we've got for this week. For Maddie Lassiter and Weldon Braxton, I'm Mark Freeman saying so long. Yeah, I switched it up. Went Maddie first. Saying so long. We appreciate you joining us. We'll be back at 11 o'clock on Monday at rivervalleyleader.com with some more Sports Blitz.